You guys, we need to talk about Ned Fulmer because what he's doing right now is absolutely unhinged. I'm talking wrestling debuts, stand-up comedy, podcasts with his wife who literally won't forgive him on camera. It's a mess. And honestly, the internet is not here for any of it. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into one of the most bizarre comeback attempts I've ever seen, and trust me, it only gets more confusing from here. Last month, we were talking about Ned Fulmer for the first time in forever, and that alone had everyone's eyebrows raising. Out of nowhere, Ned popped back into the public conversation when he announced he was launching a brand new podcast called Rock Bottom. This marked his first real step back into the spotlight after being completely silent for nearly 3 years following that cheating scandal that basically ended his career, as we knew it. And if you're sitting there thinking, wait, who is Ned Fulmer again? Let me refresh your memory real quick. Ned was best known as one of the Try Guys, a content group that blew up from BuzzFeed and eventually launched their own massively successful YouTube channel. They were everywhere for a while, trying literally everything you could imagine. But then in September 2022, Ned's affair with an employee at the Try Guys came to light, and everything imploded. Fans exposed him after catching him out with said employee. Photos went around, the story went absolutely viral, because here's the thing, Ned was known as the wife guy. He was constantly talking about his wife Ariel, always bragging about how much he adored her, how in love they were, how she was basically his entire personality. So for him to be caught in a cheating scandal, nobody could believe it. It was insane. People just couldn't process it, and they felt horrible for his wife. That scandal led to him being completely removed from Try Guys content. He was edited out of future videos, and he really just stepped away from the public eye entirely. For the next 3 years, he wasn't doing anything publicly. His wife Ariel, who was extremely adored by Try Guys fans, also went completely offline. She used to appear in Try Guys content and was featured on the podcast with other partners of the Try Guys. But after the scandal, she vanished from the internet entirely. And honestly, everyone understood why. The woman had been humiliated on a global scale, so of course she needed space to process everything away from the public eye. But then Ned resurfaced with his podcast, and his first episode was with Ariel, which immediately had people conflicted. At first, when he announced the podcast and said he was doing the first episode with Ariel, people were like, "No, Ariel, we can't believe you stayed with him." She was getting some backlash for even appearing. But upon actually watching the episode, you guys, it was very clear she had not forgiven him. She was telling him to his face that she hadn't forgiven him, and they said they were really just co-parenting, that they hadn't been romantically together in a while. It sounds like they're strictly civil and trying to make things work, at least friendship-wise, for the sake of their children. Fans of hers were actually happy to see that she wasn't going easy on him in the podcast and was holding him accountable for his actions. But afterwards, people were left wondering, why did he even want to start this podcast? He claimed it was so he could interview other people who have essentially also hit rock bottom. But the first episode just didn't win him any affection from the public. Honestly, it kind of made people dislike him even more, which seems like the opposite of what he was going for. He's continued posting weekly episodes where he interviews different people about their lowest moments, but then he suddenly took a very random turn in his career that nobody saw coming. I don't know if he's just doing any and everything now to put himself out there, or if he's trying to get people to like him by publicly embarrassing himself. I genuinely don't know what the plan is. But this past week he did something that I thought was a joke at first, until articles started coming out saying it was for real. The other night I saw Ned post that he was going to be making his wrestling debut, and I really thought it was satire. Like, seriously, I'm not kidding you guys. I did not think he was serious. But it was serious. On October 8th, Ned made an untelevised pro wrestling debut at All Elite Wrestling in Florida. Yes, like actual wrestling. He wrestled under the name Nasty Ned, which sounds like something you'd read when someone is roasting him on Reddit. But apparently that's the name he decided to choose for himself. Photos show him ringside with other wrestlers, but the match wasn't aired. This wasn't some huge TV debut, more like a test drive, an entrance back into the public eye, maybe through spandex and elbow drops. I don't know if this is just a one-time thing or if this is going to become a whole thing for him. How this opportunity even landed in his lap, I really don't know, but some people think maybe he's doing this to lean into being the villain or something. Once photos were posted from the event, that's when the opinions started flying. People were saying, what is bro doing? Like for real, it's giving 2000s Crash Out vibes. Someone said he wants to be the new Logan Paul trying to be Jake Paul. The name too, like ew. Others said they can't think of anyone less suited for wrestling, and that this was definitely not on their 2024 bingo card. But this isn't the only thing Ned is doing these days, because he also recently posted that he was doing stand-up comedy. And this one actually gets kind of interesting. It almost feels like he's trying to take some sort of power back from his cancellation a couple years ago with the way some of his latest moves are aligning. Ned posted on his Instagram this poster for a stand-up show, and the notes for his character were pathological desperation to please and trust issues. I wonder where those trust issues come from, Ned. It feels like you kind of give people trust issues. But anyway, I thought to myself, is this new for Ned? Because I felt like the Try Guys maybe did stand-up before, like a video where they tried stand-up. So I looked it up, and guess what? The first video to pop up is Try Guys Try Stand-Up Comedy, which was one of the videos going around on Reddit at the time Ned was getting exposed for cheating because he was being strategically cut out of it. You could see his shirt at times, but they edited him out completely. People in the comments were going crazy asking why Ned was being cut out, and unless you were on Reddit, you didn't know about the rumors of him potentially cheating on his wife. We now know that was the truth. But at the time, the Try Guys were trying to salvage content they'd already filmed by editing around him so they didn't lose all the money they'd spent on production. So I wonder if him doing stand-up now is some attempt to reclaim that moment, because people wondered the same thing about the podcast. The month he posted the podcast with Ariel was the same time frame as when the scandal went down 3 years ago. It just feels like he's trying to reclaim this whole time period, like the month of September, and make it right for himself again. I don't know how well it's working for him though, because every time he posts online, everyone says they're unfollowing him, or the video reminded them they needed to, or they're telling him to leave the internet. People are just shocked he really thought he could come back like this. And with his podcast, it's not looking good either. The comments on the clips he's posting to Instagram are brutal. People are like, this ain't it, this is not the rebrand move. Honestly, it's pretty sad and manipulative of you, please stop. Others are saying he's just trying to make himself feel better about his own mistakes, and that's all the podcast really is. I think it's clear he wants forgiveness and for people to understand that people make mistakes, because his whole podcast is about people hitting rock bottom, having these really low lows, being canceled, dealing with addiction, all these things, and trying to do better later in life. And I think that's what Ned wants for himself. He wants the internet to forgive him and be like, oh, we understand, Ned. We see what you're doing with all these people on your podcast who've overcome their rock bottom, and we see you're a different person now. But the internet doesn't believe him. They just don't. Especially when he posted that podcast with Ariel where she literally hasn't even forgiven him. It's like, why would the internet forgive you if your own wife hasn't forgiven you? There's this moment in the podcast where Ariel says point blank, do you forgive Ned for what he did? And I mean, the answer is no, absolutely not. How can you forgive somebody for lying to you, for cheating on you? No. Like, of course I get it, but as much progress as we've had, you're still very angry. That's why it's so confusing that he even posted that episode. I feel like they should have recorded it and he should have just been like, you know what? Never mind. Not a good idea. I don't think I'm going to win the internet over with this one. But I guess that's maybe why he's trying his hand at a bunch of different things now. Wrestling, comedy, trying to see which one's going to work out for him. Certainly brave of him, and also brave to have the comments on for all these videos too. I was shocked to notice his comment section wasn't limited on Instagram because they're pretty harsh. Anyway, guys, that's what's going on with Ned Fulmer right now and his very interesting career pivots. I want to know what you think about the fact that Ned is trying to redeem himself in these super random ways. Do you think he deserves a second chance? Or is this whole thing just embarrassing to watch? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who remembers the Try Guys drama. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye!